I love that little symbol, like shh at the end there. All right.
Your camera's so blurry looking.
It's blurry. It tries to focus in on me sometimes, but I got the dog laying next to me, and the dog he is wearing the cone of shame. So I don't want to. It's like
Poor
I'll
dog.
I'll move in my seat over this way. There we go. Anyway, hi everybody. I'm glad to be here. I had a great, like, it's been an interesting week. It's been a great last few days. My wife's grandmother passed this week, and that has been a lot. Roller coaster of emotions. Plus, we've had some really great stuff going on.
Our life is always like dualistic. It's always like awesome at the same time, and something traumatic is happening at the same time. I feel like we've been living in that state for like the last 3 to 4, probably 4 years.
Yeah.
It's really been nuts.
Which, I heard something the other day, and it hit me, where I just thought, like, did you think, fill in the blank, did you think teaching would be hard, right? When you thought about being a teacher, and I want to become a teacher, would it be hard or would it be easy? When I got married, did I think it would be hard, right? If you were honest with yourself, you'd say probably sometimes it's going to be hard, right? Like, did I think having kids was going to be hard? Did I think owning a house would be hard? Did I think owning a dog would be hard? Now, I didn't think it'd be this hard, but it's hard. And so if that's correct in your mind, you knew it was going to be hard. But until hard happened, you didn't know what hard felt like. And so when you got the house and the water heater goes, and you got to take cold showers for a week, or walk down the streets to Rob's house 4 blocks away early in the morning and get a shower at his house, which is weird. Yeah, it's hard. Marriage is wonderful till you have a disagreement, till something traumatic happens, and then it gets hard. Teaching, until you had that parent-teacher conference, the kid cursed you out, the principal seems like they have zero idea what's going on. There is a trauma that happens in the school or outside of the school that affects everybody that is working there. You knew hard, but you didn't know what hard felt like. And so in that, what I've been thinking about this week is, now you know what hard feels like. And so you're not so surprised when it shows up, but what can you do to get better, right? To do better, you have to be better. So here's the idea. You can do more to be more, to have more, right? Want more peace? You got to do more so you can be more, so you can have more. Want to have more classroom management control, better relationship with your kids, with your spouse. You got to do more to be more, to have more, right? And I'm not trying to oversimplify here. I realize people are going through a number of different things, and some of those are not, but so like if you lost a loved one, I'm not going to say that like this is just that it's just that easy. It is difficult, but there are things. And so look, now that I'm thinking about it,
well, I want to say I think it is that easy, but I think that the path, like,
well, it's that simple,
right? The solution is that simple. The path to get to that place is definitely not easy.
Yeah,
it's very hard.
It's very simple.
Yes.
To get in shape and lose weight.
Yep.
It's extremely simple.
The formula is
right?
pretty simple, man.
But it's hard to do it every day. It's hard to wake up. It's hard to go to the gym. It's hard to eat this instead of that, right? So this wasn't meant to be a sales pitch or something like that, but now it's just making me think. So we were supposed to do this on Saturday. We're supposed to do this student engagement workshop. I think student engagement has a lot more to do than just having fun in the classroom, right? I think that there's a level of consistency that comes with student engagement. I think it's a level of showing up. It's a level of you being attuned to what your students are going through and things that they love and like and things of that nature. So we created this workshop. It was supposed to happen yesterday. It didn't, because that's when the funeral was. So instead, that workshop is going to be happening next Saturday, which the good thing is just means you can still get on board with it. We priced it at only $67 because we felt like that was a fair amount for the enormous amount of effort that went into doing this. Because look, I'm going to tell you what, we only want to do things on excellence. That's all. That's the only place I want to live is excellence. But if you're struggling with student engagement, if you're struggling with school, with students, with having some fun, with light shining out of your classroom door, we got you. So we created this event. It's going to happen next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is focusing on like transitions. How do you get kids from one thing to another? How do you get kids to pay attention, to stop talking, to get their work done? And so I put together this program, not just me, with the team, and we are going to execute it next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you cannot make it live because you live in South Korea or Germany or somewhere else, at the time might be different for you, it's going to be recorded and you can just watch it back, and it's the same thing as watching it live, right? You'd be able to watch it right there. You'll get a special link and all the resources and all that stuff. So that's happening next Saturday. That's it. That's all I want to talk about.
Okay, but, yeah. Can we answer some
Speaking
questions?
of hard, let's get into it.
I know, because people got some hard questions in here.
All right, I'm ready.
The first one's not too bad. Jack is asking, looking into entering teaching near Chattanooga as a high school JROTC instructor at the age of 52 with 28 years of service. Any experiences with this program that you can share?
First of all, Jack Gray sounds like a character from like an awesome character on a TV show.
Yes.
Gray. Jack Gray.
Like he's an action movie.
Yeah. So I love that he is a veteran, because it's just like, which it just sounds awesome.
He's got some action stories for sure.
Jack Gray's got 100 stories, not bad. So here's the thing that I love about this, Mr. Gray, is that it makes me laugh, because I think when I started teaching, I didn't start teaching until I was 27, and I just thought, man, I'm so out of touch now. I think I might be too old.
I remember when you started, we were like, it was like a
45-year-old me is like, bro, you were barely grown, like when you were 27. Like 22-year-old me should not have been in charge of anybody. So I think when I talk to folks now about this idea, and there's people in the comments I'm sure are going to hit you up. Like I know Chris Carson got into the game later than many, and there are a lot of people here that have similar story. The beauty of that is, look, 28 years of service, right? So first of all, thank you. And second of all, that's so much experience. You have lived life. The reason 22-year-old me, now I'm not saying 22-year-old anybody else, I know me, 22-year-old me would not have been able to teach is I didn't live enough. I wasn't healed enough. I went through a lot of hard stuff when I was a kid, and I wasn't ready to be put in charge of young people, of having anything to do with their future. So to me, being 52 and all you've learned, all you've lived through. So when a kid goes, why do we got to do this, bro? I'm going to break it down for you right now, because I've been there, right? I think there's a ton of that. So that's the first piece of advice I would give you, is that I don't know if you're feeling that way, but like you're 52, that's 52 years that you have lived through untold amounts of stuff that you're going to be able to use in the classroom. I think the other thing is where I see folks kind of go wrong, and this is even really young teachers as well, is that they have an idea of what school's going to be like, and then it's Billy Joel. The good old days weren't always good, right? And so thinking back, it's like, oh, school was like this, and I had this teacher, and I had this experience. It was so wonderful. And then you get there, and it's like, oh, this isn't the thing, right? So it's being mindful of what you're showing up for. What is your mission? What is your role? What do you want to do? But trying to ease up on the expectations of what you think kids today are like or are going through. Now, the way that you do that is you build relationships with kids. It's the only way that you will build connection, because look, I talk about relationships a lot, but one of the things that's so important that I don't think it's not just about like getting to know your kids and not just like getting kids to like you or something like that. It is being unbelievably aware of who you are dealing with, who you're connecting with, who's in your room, right? You really have to know who that is so you can teach who that is, right? It's like knowing your customer, right? Like if you have to know your customer to be able to serve them well. And so I would say that that's a thing that I would really focus on in this next season. My best to you, Jack. Jack, if you need anything, please hit us up, realrapwithreynolds.com, or you can come on here or go to the Facebook group or something like that. It would be awesome.
All right. Well, we got a super chat, so we're going to go with this guy's question. All right. We appreciate it
Thank you very much.
I think it's, how do you say it? Is it Dan? It's not Dane Mantrain? I don't know.
The Dane Mantrain?
All right, we're going. I'm going to go with Dane.
That sounds good to me.
Or DNA, the DNA show. Oh, he's got a show on YouTube.
We gotta look it up.
All right, asking a really great controversial question here. This is a good one. I'm convinced that teachers leaving the classroom has more to do with systemic dysfunction than some sort of personal issue that makes you a better or worse teacher. Your thoughts?
I think it's different for different people.
Can it be both?
It can be both, and it's going to depend on the school, right? So I do think that there's a systemic issue in that, like, look, I mean, oh gosh, this is such a big thing, but like, if I can try and simplify this idea, coming back from COVID left a lot of people traumatized for any number of reasons, right? And I'm not like, I think there's a lot of judgment around like, should that happen or shouldn't that happen? It's not for me to judge. I'm just saying, like, folks are coming back different. And if we don't look at that, if we don't try and help with that, or just listen to that, or do something and just keep going like nothing ever happened, we are doing a disservice. Same thing with children. Children don't always know that they are traumatized, right? They just start presenting any number of different thoughts, feelings, actions in the classroom and outside the classroom that are tied to some sort of trauma that they don't even identify. They don't know that that's why they're doing it. They don't know that that's why you're acting out. That's why you're angry all the time. That's why you want to hurt somebody else. That's why you want to act out. That's why you want to get attention. That's why you want to withdraw. And so creating safe spaces for kids to be able to at the very least, explore and express what they're thinking, feeling, and going through, right? Like that's that bottom bargain basement line, right? If we're not doing that, it makes teaching unbelievably difficult. Now, then you're matched with people are leaving, and now y'all got to do 100 other things all of a sudden, right? Like, it's like, oh, teach extra class. You got bus duty. You got lunch duty. We're going to need you to come in. It's like, no. I signed up to teach. I'm not a hallway monitor. I'm not a lunch monitor. I'm not a bus monitor. I'm not like, I signed up to teach. My job is to connect with children, to take that connection and to make it into meaningful learning experiences. And so when we start piling more and more and more stuff, now all of a sudden teachers, it's just like cops in my neighborhood. I see it all the time where like cops are like, you're the cop, but you're also the crossing guard. And you're also the guy who's policing the situation when the electric company has to put a new pole and they're fixing a pothole. So we need a cop out here. Something
with a lost animal, or, because they do many things and wear many hats. Maybe they could just police. There's so much that folks are being asked to do that I think it's that overwhelmingness of also people beating themselves up. It's that negative self-talk. But then oftentimes schools are pouring gasoline on that fire, and there's going, no, you're right. You're not good enough. You're not enough. You're not great enough. I just had a conversation with someone, and I won't share their name. So if you're listening to this, please know that I won't share your story even completely. But they dealt with 3 deaths of students, 2 deaths of students, and another situation in a week or 2 weeks, right? And then they just got to go teach. And there's no counseling for them. There's no help for them. There's no therapy for them or the students. I'm saying, like, but that to me is
like, yo, can you pay attention? Wait, go teach now. What?
I know.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just think like with a question like this, it's like, it's not just one or the other. There is a whole host of problems in education, but I think it spills over not just from education, but into our culture and how we are. There's no care for social and emotional development in children. It's not part of programs. You can smack it in and tell a teacher to do it and fill it in homeroom. And that's the time that we're doing like the little social emotional program. And it's like, that's not really what kids need, or even adults. I think you have a lot of adults who are walking around thinking that they're grown, mature adults, but yet can't handle their emotions. They are triggered all over the place from their own undealt with trauma. I think that's those two issues are a huge part, and the workload of why teachers are leaving in just mass. It's like, we're just unsupporting, but that's what I'm so excited that we want to build something to offer to schools and to people, like, and to teachers to support more holistically the teacher.
So let me say,
there's so much there.
There is a lot more there. I could even say more about that, but I'm going to get to the next question.
Okay. Are we going to move on? Is that it?
Let me say this. If you feel less than as a teacher, I want you to know that there's two options here. Maybe you are. Maybe you're just not there yet, right? Maybe you're still growing. Maybe you're still getting there. And that's okay. Teaching, I've said many times, is the only job that folks feel like they need to be good from the jump. And it's just not true. You don't become a carpenter, a piano player, or a baker, and all of a sudden people are like, dang, like, you're incredible, right? Unless you use my friend Betty, because Betty Crocker makes it easy to bake. But that's not what education is, right? We try to make it like that. We try to have the system and go, all you got to do is add some egg and some oil and some water, or whatever you do, because I don't bake. But like, it's that simple. It's just not that simple. The other thing is, you're not less than. You're doing a great job, and don't let anybody take that away from you, because you are showing up with your heart and soul. If you're watching this right now on a Sunday afternoon, you could be doing anything, playing video games, watching football, hanging with your family, going out for coffee with someone, going to have lunch, doing anything else. What are you doing? You're watching YouTube about teaching. You're different. You are made different. And so don't let anyone take that away from you, right? That's all I can say. I wish I could give you a hug. Go ahead.
All right. Mallory is asking, up next, I opened a store on TPT to get supplemental income. I've gotten lots of pushback from colleagues who disagree on selling resources. Apparently, it's a common opinion. Thoughts on TPT controversy?
Look, Mallory, I think there is a lot of people that hate TPT. What I'm going to say is this.
It's also a place of good and bad. I think it's got both in there.
Because you got people that never taught before, or taught for 1 year, and they got something, and you don't always know where you're getting it from. Now, look, I know folks that are selling stuff on TPT that are good people, right? I've mentioned her before. My friend Megan from Too Cool for Middle School on YouTube, she makes good stuff on TPT. She's a great teacher. She's a great person. She's a great mom. Like she's doing good stuff. Not everyone has the platform to be able to sell their wares otherwise, right? And so if you sold it at a flea market, would anybody have a problem? And so,
or if Mallory built a website and instead of use TPT, but built her own website and put everything on there to sell, it's like, what are people razzing her for? Is it just because it's on TPT, or is it because you're just selling resources to make ends meet for your family and your life?
Yeah. So let's speak to that real
They're
quick.
Hating on that?
Because Mallory,
you can keep that.
I mean, if you really want to get hated in your school, I'm going to give you the recipe. Go start a YouTube channel.
Right.
Because it is, and I'm not going to say everyone. I've had a lot of people that have supported me. I've had people that have come to my school to get jobs because I worked there. But it is definitely look, it's hard to be a prophet in your own land, right? And so you need to know that your family comes first, that if you need to supplement your income, which almost every single teacher does, it is, and which I'll tell you right now, and I'm not going to let the whole cat out of the bag, but this is something we're dreaming about. This is something we're actively working on, creating something now that's going to help teachers to supplement their income, doing what they already do, right? If you can do that, so you can stay home with that beautiful baby that's in your profile picture there, and that might be an old picture. I don't know, maybe your baby's 21 years old, but it doesn't matter because it's still got needs. They still need to do stuff. Then I say, if what you're doing is good and it's blessing people, you go out there and sell it any way that you can, because that's supporting your family. And if what you're doing, if you know is good work, but that's where you got to go. You might not even be that much of a capitalist, but if you want to start a store and you put it in the mall, you're going to do a whole lot better than if you have a lemonade stand. like, or like you're like on your block, just selling it out of your driveway on Saturdays at a yard sale. Like, you got to go where the people are to sell the thing that they want to buy. And so if what you're doing is good work, then go out there and bless people with it. And of course, people are going to hate on you. But every time you try and do something great, people are going to try and hate, right? And so that happens all the time. You can have a great lesson, a great moment, bring a speaker in, go on an incredible class trip, and there's going to be someone that's like, really? You went on a class? Oh, great. Now we look where, I'm not trying to hurt anybody else. Y'all can go on there and sell your stuff too. You can sell it on your website too. You can make extra money too. So go do it.
And we all know that teachers, they don't have enough time as it is. It's like, we should be helping, if you're putting out something good that someone else can use, that's shaving off and helping them save time. Yeah. It's like, why is that looked down upon? And to make some extra bucks?
No, because teachers already make no money.
I know.
It's like, I'm just, what am I making money at? Helping teachers.
Don't listen to those people.
Because if you had a restaurant, right, that sold if you owned a food truck and your food truck showed up at the school and sold lunch every day, people wouldn't be going, what are you doing? Oh, you're making money off teachers? No, I'm feeding them.
John Lopez is saying that you sound like Squidward from SpongeBob when you do that voice.
I love that Lopez knows who Squidward is.
Oh, that is kind of funny. Okay, let's go. Jacob Ingram is up next. Jacob, please email us. You want a book?
We got stuff for you.
I'm trying to get a hold of you. Okay, his question is, I have a student who comes to class high and then won't stay awake. Admin just asked him if he was on anything. The student said no, so they send him back to class. What should I do next time?
I'm wondering if other people have an idea about this, but I know what I do, and there's a couple of different things, and it depends on the kid. There's so much to say about this.
I have some smart actions.
I know, no,
like I can't.
But I'm just thinking of like my kids last year that were all coming in. They were doing edibles and then showing up to school.
Well,
and the edible
would
hit during my second period class, and then it was they were whatever.
So I'll say this: if Jacob is in a state that recreational is legal, I will say that I think that is, it just makes it.
Yeah, but so you have to be 18 for that.
It doesn't matter. You can still get your hands on it.
But it doesn't matter because it's not legal.
No. I know. I'm just saying, like, it just makes it really difficult to navigate when they have so many sneaky, like, or non-smelling or vaping or like these avenues that you can take without even smelling the product that in my day, that was always the thing. Schools would, you could smell it on a kid very easily. So, but nowadays it's very, very tricky. And so I just am saying, like, if recreational is legal in the state that you're in and you're having an issue, I think it adds to it.
Yeah. I'm going to write myself a note real quick. But I am going to answer this. I need to make a warning label for what I'm about to say. And then we're going to be able to flash it up here. I think, Jacob, I'm going to say some things. I'm not saying that you should absolutely do them. I am not a professional counselor or anything like that. I just know how I roll, and I know it's worked for me. So I don't want you to go and do something that's going to get you in trouble or pushback or written up or something like that. So take what I say, digest it, and then see what you want to do. There's a number of ways I deal with kids that show up to class high. One is just asking them to stand next to their desk. The other one is, I have often sent kids to the nurse or to the office because I tell them, like, look, someone cannot stay awake. And here's where I go. I think something, even if I know they're stoned out of their mind, I just go, listen, I don't know what's happening with this young person. They're having a really hard time staying awake. Could be a cry for help. Could be something else going on. I'd like if someone could check in with them. Right. So now, not only am I sending you out, one, I'm messing up your high, right? So I'm like messing with your vibe here too. Two, I am putting it into the hands of someone who's able to help you. I'm busy teaching class. I don't have time to counsel you in the moment. And so that's another thing. Send them to a counselor, send them to the nurse, send them to the office, right? And so they can get the help that they need, hopefully. But then I always circle back around. I never send problems out the door that I don't follow up with on the back end. So it's talking to students oftentimes about what they're doing. And this is the tricky part, right? Like, I'm not sure if this is like legal or if you're allowed to do this. But when I have dudes that come in and they're high, or I've had kids that were drunk, I've had kids that are all kinds of things going on. It really comes down to, why is this an issue, right? Do I have a problem with you smoking pot? Do I have a problem with you doing edibles? Do I have a problem with you coming to school drunk, right? Like, I separate myself from whether or not I think this is that, like, morally, this is an issue. What it comes down to is this: why are we doing drugs before school? Right? So why are we getting high before school? Right? That's a real conversation. Do you think it's just funny? Do you think it's fun? Did you just thought it would be cool? Or is there an underlying issue? Right? So if you're getting high that early in the morning, is there something else going on? Are we trying to numb ourselves against what's happening in our lives? And then is that something that's going on? The other thing is, look, I'm going to tell you what. If you want out, if you don't like the life you're living, you don't like living with your parents, you don't like being in foster care, you don't want to, you've had some sort of trauma, you've lost a friend, a loved one, a family member, right? And you want out of this, I'm going to tell you that the only way out is education. Now, I'm not saying that has to even be a high school diploma or a college degree, but if you can't so clearly you can self-medicate, but are you able to self-educate when you need to be able to do it? And so the only way to get to what you want to, that dream you want to live, is what I said earlier. It's to be more. You have to be a better version of yourself. How do we do that? We do more, then you can have more. And it's getting kids to understand that when you're showing up stoned, what you're doing is oftentimes you're giving up hope in what's in the future, right? Now, look, this isn't every kid. I know some kids are just being kids and they're getting high before school and they just think it's funny. And that's a different conversation, sort of. But what I'm saying is, if you have little brothers and sisters and they're growing up in the same difficult, traumatic household that you are, now by you self-medicating and showing up to school like that, now what you're doing is you're putting their future in jeopardy also, because it is your job to get out. It is your job to move on. It is your job to live that life that you want to live so you can bless other people, so that your younger sister who's in 5th grade and it's now daylight savings time, except for Arizona, they don't have to walk home in the dark anymore, because they don't even live in that neighborhood anymore, because you were able to pay for them to go to a different school so that they are getting the love and care that they need somewhere else. So it's really, I think it is helping kids to realize that their actions have consequences. And it's not just consequences like you're going to get in trouble with your mom or the cops. I'm talking about it's bigger than that, because you could be the person that breaks the cycle of abuse, of trauma, of poverty in your family. You could be the one. But we're just throwing that out because you can't even hear what's happening right now, because you're staring at Reynolds' jellyfish timer on the board like it's the most amazing thing that ever happened. So it's knowing the time and place that you're going to do the things that you're going to do, but not before my class, because I'm trying to change the world right now. And what do I change the world? How do I change the world? By creating opportunity. I can't do it for you. I just create the opportunity for you to show up, to do the work, to get better, so you can do and have more. That's it.
So you would just have that conversation.
I have that conversation. And I think most kids don't have it broken down to them in a way that actually applies to their life now.
I agree.
Right. But you have to wait later, because don't try and have that conversation with someone that's stoned, because they're just going to look at your lips and be like, this is amazing.
Well, they're going to go, wait, what'd you say?
Wait, huh?
Okay. Sharon.
That was a very long answer. Let's go, Sharon.
Sharon's up next. A two-parter asking my school. Well, gosh, it's along the same line.
Let's do it.
My school is doing pretty much nothing about vaping outside of suspensions. There are no consequences beyond that, and my students are getting frustrated as well as the staff. What can I encourage my students to do outside of board meetings? What can the staff do? We feel this is being brushed under the rug.
So, Sharon, I think this is such a great thing. I think the problem with vaping is young people really, they don't understand the ramifications of it. So it could be things like getting a speaker come to your school, but we've had good ones, and we've had ones that are like, everyone's like, this, who's this? Why are they talking to us? This is terrible.
Guy that just says, don't do drugs.
Yeah, guys, don't do drugs. And then they have some weird metaphor, and you're just like, all right, wait, okay, I could have done better than this. It is, students need to know that they have power. And I will say that the school that I just finished teaching at in West Philly, we had some of the most deplorable lunches I've ever seen in my life. Like, the kids used to joke that prison food was better than our school food. Like, so kids, everyone's free and reduced lunch. Sorry, my dog with the cone on his neck is scratching. It's hitting the leg of my desk. So they would show up for school and they would get what's the equivalent of a very small Nutri-Grain bar and a tiny little thing of juice that I'm no kidding. It's like
everybody
as big
knows
as
if
this.
you taught kindergarten, like it's like that little.
But
tiny...
these are high school boys. Some of these dudes are taller than I am. I mean, we're talking 250, 6'5", like big boys. And this was what you were given, right? Lunch was no different. It would be like a hot dog with some green beans that were not green. And so we used to call it apocalypse food because it looked like everything came out of a can. It was like just a heater away from being edible. And so the problem with that is that students were hungry all day. So then when they end up eating like whatever's cheap from the corner store, right? So like, what can you get for $2? You can get this many like pastries or like tasty cakes or chips or blue soda or whatever, right? And then you're having the sugar high and you're crashing in class, right? So it's one, it's understanding why this is a problem. 2, our students did a fast from school lunch for like, it was a week or 2 weeks where they just brought food either from home or from the corner store and they shared it with one another. And so when they got called up to come get lunch, not one kid ever got up. And not because they were going hungry, because their friends, somebody would be like, you don't have anything to eat? Yo, come here. I got chips or I got whatever. Or my mom made peanut butter and jellies for everybody, whatever it was. And no kidding, after 2 weeks, the school was so mad. And so were the lunch people because they had all this food. They just ended up throwing it away. So the kids pushed. After 2 weeks, the school got a new contract. They got new vendors. They got new food. They had options. And it wasn't great, but oh man, was it way better than what they had. The thing is, children don't understand that they have power. Now, I'm not telling everyone they need to walk out or they need to have a fast from lunch, but it's getting that creativity thinking. What can the teachers in your school do? When they have the meeting, who's staying after the meeting to go, all right, y'all, what are we really doing to move the ball forward, to make things happen? And the same thing with kids. What are we really going to do about this? And then realizing that you have power. There's powers in numbers. There's power in your voice. And there's power in your actions. So what are you going to do? What's that, babe?
Sharon also said in a comment, she posted, she said, they served hot dogs in a taco shell at my high school last year. It went viral.
Yep. You know what I'm saying?
It's the same person who asked this.
It's question. Like, it's the same way, like when they're like, give pizza. Oh, I know. And they're like, no, it's technically, according to the government, pizza is a vegetable.
That's how they get it into schools.
Because it has tomato sauce on it. What? I don't need my kids to hear that, because then Brody's going to think a Hot Pocket is actually healthy because it has a pepper in it or something like that. So I think that it's just it's identifying the issue and then it's dreaming up ways that like what
do you want them to do?
What do you want? What if this was easy? What if this was fun? What if this worked? It's thinking about things slightly differently, getting together with the right group of people, and then just keep bothering them. I bothered admin so much last year that as soon as I was like, hey, do you have 5 minutes? I would just see their faces. They'd be like in the hallway and they're like, oh, because it's like, we're changing grades. Like we're doing illegal things. So I have a question about that. And so it's just constantly showing up and pushing back, and then don't give up.
All right. Meatball Molly is up next asking, how do you tell your principal that your grade level partner is not doing their job when the principal supports that teacher? I go over and beyond, and the teacher gets away with everything.
All right. So this is a great question, because what happens here, what ends up happening is this is like, it's codependency, right? That person's getting away with doing stuff on the back of what you're doing. So one sort of easy way to get around that, and this is what I've done, because it really shows someone else's inability, although the students will suffer for a moment, it is when I co-teach with someone, I split responsibilities, right? So it is pre-class, right? And I learned this years ago. I taught with this guy who was just the worst. I've talked about him a million times. He used to sleep in the back of my class.
I hope he never watches this.
He passed away.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So he would kick kids. But I've had other people too that were horrible, right? And so I don't like to talk ill about the dead, but it's my only example that I have. Look, so and it got so bad that I walked out of class one day. I went to the Witter, the head of curriculum, and I said, I'm not teaching with this person anymore. Y'all need to get somebody else in there. I don't care. You could literally. That's the year that I made a mannequin out of wood and a styrofoam head, and I said,
Fred came to me.
and I said, I made my own teaching assistant, and I was like, I'm just going to use this guy because he's literally better than having this human being in my classroom. And so, which was, I mean, if you really want to drive people crazy, make a mannequin. Actually, you can buy one. I'm about to get mine. It's finally back in stock. It's $69 on Amazon.
Right. That's all we need is a mannequin in our house. We need,
because we have enough room. So it's split your teaching responsibilities. Put them in charge of a certain thing. Maybe it's pre-class. Maybe it's so what I would do with this individual, I put them in charge of vocab. So every Monday they had to have the words. Every day for the first 10 minutes of class, they had a mini lesson that focused on the vocabulary and reviewing it. They were in charge of administering the tests and grading the tests. I did everything else. All quizzes, all the reading, all the organization, every single other thing, putting in grades, all of it. Parent communication. Their job was vocab. And when they did it, it was such a disastrous failure that it was very, very evident. The kids were getting mad at that teacher. Parents were getting mad. Their kids' grades were low, that they had unfair testing situations, that IEPs weren't being implemented. So it was splitting that up so that it was like, we're not both doing everything. We're both teaching class, but you're going to start and I'll do the journal entry. Then we're going to jump in the vocab. Then I'll take it back from you and we'll do this thing. So it's going to make it a little harder on you on the front end because you're going to have kids that are aggravated, but that's the only way to really break the codependency, I think, is to cut them off and make them do their own thing.
Yeah. And because just running to your principal just to complain is going to backfire, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, like it ends up, especially if they're backing that person, right? Like,
right. That's what I'm saying, because this person, they say the principal supports that teacher. So for whatever, why or whatever is not like important. It's just that it is. And so it's like, no, don't just go to that, because that could get you in trouble. I think.
Molly, make sure that when you are doing what you're doing in class, I would be on 11. I'd be doing the greatest job I possibly could to really even then drive the disparity home of like that there's such a separation in the classroom.
All right. Summer's up next asking, how do you fall back in love with teaching when you're beat down and exhausted after several rough years that have drained the desire to keep going?
Summer, this is tough, right? I would say there's a lot of different answers for this. I'll rattle off a few, see what sticks. One, and I know this is impossible for everyone, but is there a better school for you? Is there somewhere else to go? And that seems hard, right? But I'm telling you, anyone that's ever been in a bad relationship knows that, like, you could just ride out the relationship. We're already married. We're already dating. We already live together. Gosh, we bought the couch together. Like, he has the better car. It's more reliable. Like, whatever the situation is, you could make an argument for why you should stay. But anyone that's ever left a bad situation, a bad relationship, and gotten into a good relationship knows that, like, no, the grass is sometimes greener on the other side, right? So, like, maybe this is something we should be thinking about. The other thing is learning how to say no. And so let me remind everyone that no is a complete sentence. So, hey, can you, we're going to need you to, there's a meeting after school, after the meeting, and we're going to be here till about 5:00. We're going to need you to be there. No. Can you pick up an extra class today because someone's absent and we need to make sure that there's someone in there with the kids? No. Can you do lunch duty? No. Can you, hey, listen, the bus person isn't here today. This is a literal thing that's happened in my school. We need you to take the school van and drive some kids home. No. It's literally just saying no. But what I do is I try to be excellent at my job. The things that I'm actually there to do, right? Creating fun in the hallways, connecting with students, making dynamic lessons, making the class come to life. I try to be excellent at. And then I just say no to everything else. And that is hard to do, right? I'm not trying to make it sound overly simple. But saying no is the only way to get your time and your vibe back, right? Because you are, a lot of times teachers are so exhausted because they're so overextended. So it's like, I just say no to stuff. And what's the worst thing that's like, to be honest with you, like, I don't know. I don't want to say you won't get fired, but like with the teacher shortage that exists right now, bro, who we firing right now?
But if you're unhappy at your school anyway, nobody wants to be fired. And I don't want anybody to be fired. But there is a boundary line, I think, that teachers need to become more, at least from this end and from my seat, it seems like, and not in a classroom. It seems like that. Yeah, it's just more of a boundary line of saying, no, I'm not going to do that. I can't do everything. Like, and because it ends up you just sacrificing you.
And but where does that come from, right? If we real quick identify where that comes from teaching is something that's done with your heart.
Right. Exactly,
right. For so many, not everyone, right? There are some people that it's their head. They love literature. That's what they want to do. So many of us teach with our heart. We want to show up. We want to do all we can do. We want to be the best we can be for kids, right? But what schools do often is they trick you into, oh, you're not going to this, but this is for children. Like, and it's like, no, there needs to be different jobs. I can't be on a football team and do all the jobs. We have different players, different coaches, different personnel that are in charge of different parts of the game, right? So no, I'm not going to quarterback and help clean up afterwards. No, I'm not going to be a running back and also paint the lines before the game because y'all couldn't figure out the line painting guy beforehand or girl. Like, it's no. And so to me, that's where like there's a lot of freedom in that. And I'll tell you what, people treat us the way we teach them to treat us. And so I'll tell you that I've shared this as an example before. Last year, teachers were covering up to 12 classes a week. That means 12 of your preps, 12 times that you were supposed to be having lunch, doing something else, were taken up by teaching. And not even teaching, just babysitting other classes, sometimes teaching. And last year I told them I will give you one a week. That's it. Not one a day, one a week. And then it's a wrap after that. And I just wouldn't show up to those classes. I would tell them, I'm not going to like ghost them, but I'd say, no, you need to find someone else because I have other obligations. I have grades. I have parents I have to contact. I have students I have to tutor. I'm actually doing some. I'm not just chilling. And even if I am, it's my time to chill anyway. So I think it's putting up those boundaries, and that really helps.
I'm going to say real fast because she added it in a comment. She said, I switched schools this year and it was a great fit until the kids came and no action matched before school promises.
So to me, my school was a nightmare last year. I think I shared that like in just the month of March, I think the maintenance guy fixed like 58 holes in the wall or something like that was the story because there was constantly fights and roughhousing and nonsense going on in the hallways. I handle what's in my room. I do not take on what else is happening in the school, right? If the culture of the school is that it's a free for all everywhere else, I stopped standing in the hallway and started standing in my door. So when kids came in, I was still greeting kids, still saying what's up, still seeing kids as they went by and saying hi to who needed to be said hello to. But I was not in charge because you'd end up being in the hallway and you'd be the only one, and it would be madness. I remember the vice principal was in the hallway last year just screaming at kids, and they start laughing at her and yelling at her. And I was like, nope, I will not be a part of this madness. I will stay in my classroom. And that is where I have some semblance of control and influence and motivation for kids. I'm not taking on the problems that everyone else can't handle.
All right. Our next question is a two-parter. How to approach the conversation with my partner that I dislike team teaching. I teach third grade math science and she teaches ELA social studies. It's a true case of it's not you, it's me.
Oh.
Yeah. I love it. It's a true case.
Yeah. So I think, look, your life, I think your success in anything in life, Taylor, is based really on your ability to have difficult conversations. And so when I have a better marriage, learn how to have really good arguments that are effective. Want to have great relationships with your in-laws, right? Like,
wait, I'm sorry. There was a two-parter.
Oh, please.
I forgot the other part. Yeah, part 2. I prefer having more independence and being able to recharge in quiet. I miss teaching all 4 subjects to keep it more interesting for me. I miss having one other class that I could get closer with.
So that's not going to change my answer. I mean, that is great, right? It is. I know folks that are my friends that at school that are introverts that will, we would have this prep time last year during first period. And there were those of us, I am wildly extroverted if you can't tell, but my friends that were introverted needed, like, a friend of mine was like teaching or like they would coach early in the morning, right? And then they'd show up to school and they needed time to kind of like recharge before going into class. And that was just known. And so it's not even saying it like it's a bad thing. It's letting someone know what you need so that they can give it to you, right? So one, what might seem, it really is having difficult conversations is the make or break of whether you're not going to be successful at anything. Sometimes it's a hard conversation with yourself, and sometimes it's a hard conversation with others to get to the truth. But I think the truth should always be spoken, even if your voice is shaking. That's one. The other thing is, look, if you're in a relationship with someone, and there's this idea, I forget what the book is, but talks about your different love languages. If we don't tell people how to love us and what we need, then they're just going to be guessing all the time, right? I met this guy over the weekend at this conference, and he is extremely wealthy. And he said something like he rented out something crazy along these lines. My man rented out the Braves Stadium in Atlanta and then gifted his wife a Lamborghini truck, right? And just so you know, I'm not balling on that level. I don't want anyone to think that. When I am, I'll let you know. But so he said his wife never drove the Lamborghini truck. And so he asked her about it. And she's like, that's not what I want. I just want you to affirm me and to love me and to hold my hand or rub my back or lay with me on the couch. Like that's what I want. And so he was like, bro, I did it because I just didn't know. I just thought it was like, you would love possessions. You would love stuff. You would love gifts. And so when we don't tell people, even our coworkers, what we need, if we need quiet, if we need them to talk less aggressively, if we need to split the work, you have to have those conversations so that we can help each other give one another what we need. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, Taylor. You could go in and say, hey, look, I haven't been upfront with you this year, but here's kind of how I'm made. And because of that, this is what I need. And so I'm trying to figure out some ways, because I don't want to hurt your feelings. I really think that you're doing a great job, and I really love teaching with you. And it's me, not you. But if I don't tell you what I need, and then do this, what are some things you might need that I need to know about so that we can be the most amazing teaching experience collaboration ever? Like, that's where I want to get to. So that's why I'm telling you this, because I want to be great. So maybe you don't even know right now, but be sure to share that with me. If there's something you need, I want to be able to know, so that we are like, we're like peas and carrots. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing together that is going to be awesome? That's how I would have that conversation.
Yeah, she did say there was a part 3. I didn't realize. She said that they got along well and she didn't want to hurt her feelings or put her in a tough situation. She said she was feeling pretty stuck.
You know what's going to hurt her feelings, Taylor? If you keep your mouth shut and she keeps trying to care for you and do things that she thinks is working, and then you go a whole year or several years and don't say anything. It's better to go in now and say, hey, can we have a conversation? I wasn't 100% honest with you in the beginning of the year, and I'm still new with this. I'm still trying to get used to dealing with this, but I want us to be awesome. For me to be awesome, this is what I need. And then that's a gift to someone else, because then they're not trying to figure it out. Then when you seem tired or aggravated, they're not like, why? I'm trying my best and they're just tired and aggravated all the time. That's because you're letting them buy you the Lamborghini truck when all you wanted them to do was hold your hand.
Yep. All right. Zoe is up next asking, how do you cope when marking feels like it's taking over. I marked 125 psych tests, physics tests in a week, and it snapped me, and I know I'll have another 125 next week.
So Zoe, I think it's about one. Not all tests have to be super long to be comprehensive. Sometimes as teachers, I'm not saying you do this. We do things because it's what we did when we were kids. It's what everyone else is doing. It's what we think we should be doing. I have quizzes sometimes that are one question. That's it. Did you do the reading homework last night? I got a 1-question quiz for you. That's it. I know we've gotten away, like people really frown on things like Scantrons, but there are apps, and I'm working with a brand now that I'm going to be able to hopefully share with you all soon that I just is doing great work. And it's an app on your phone and you scan stuff. And it's not like some of those companies you have to like pay for their special paper and stuff like that. And you only get so many downloads, all this crap. This is all inclusive. And you scan it and it grades it. Then last year I had this one
Silly's
kid,
like, I want that now.
Yeah. Gian I can't allow to talk about it though until like it's like official. Like that's part of the deal.
Oh yes,
it's like a do not talk about thing.
NDA.
Yeah. So my man Gian and Sid the science kid, they just graded all my vocab tests for me every week. That was 150 vocab tests every week that they just graded. And then I did like the short answer or the sentences or whatever. Like there was a very small part that I had to do. And they loved that. You know why? Because I bought them donuts every Friday. I literally went to Dunkin' Donuts every Friday for mediocre coffee, bought 2 donuts each for them. And they were like, you're buying donuts? Yep. And then every once in a while I get like something special. Like I'd get like, I get
their special donut.
Whatever
holiday
like
or seasonal.
Eagles donuts came out. They always have Eagles donuts in the fall. And they're like, what? Like, Reynolds, you hooked it up, bro. I got you. Thanks for the kill. Keep grading. And they loved that. So it's about figuring out some ways, like, could you do less questions? Could you do multiple choice? Could you do it online? Could you grade it with an app? Could you get someone else to help you grade with it? Because they're going to love doing that stuff. Could you have a grading party? We have grading parties in school all the time where like all the teachers would show up. We're doing like, we get like some food together or something like that. We're all grading at one time, or we have a number of students that come in and we buy students like pizza or I usually just give them cereal. And they loved that kind of stuff. But then it was delegating some of my work so I didn't have to do as much. The question is, what would this look like if it were easy? What would teaching look like? And I'm not saying you can absolutely get to this point, but what would teaching look like if I could only do it between when I get here and the time I'm supposed to leave? What would I have to do if I had to fit it in that time? I'm not saying that you can do that. Like there might be some extra hours and some extra time and stuff like that, but it makes you start thinking in a different way to be able to get the solution that you need.
All right, we got a question over on Facebook.
Awesome.
I don't know your name because of privacy settings, possibly. But fine. So, okay, CJ, not so secret
wife. That's actually their profile picture.
Maybe. I love that gray head. I'm a 60-year-old white Army retiree, 28-year plus career switcher in my 9th year teaching. I am teaching at a Title I primarily Hispanic school. And how can I connect more efficiently with my students? I get recommendations for anime, music, and movies, but don't speak Spanish. How can I connect?
This is a great question. I spoke my first year that I taught was in Camden, New Jersey, and students were, it's about 50-50, right? African-American students and Hispanic students, but Hispanic students from all over, like from Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Nicaragua. Like there was a lot of Spanish speaking going on, right? And then within that, there's like I have kids that would say like they don't speak like proper Spanish, like so there's different like sort of dialects and sort of versions from different spots. I am grew up speaking English. I had to take 2 years of Spanish in college. So short of learning Spanish, which is an enormous undertaking, especially when you're teaching, which I think could be awesome. It is helping students to understand that you want to lessen the barrier that the language barrier is creating, right? So it's it is loving on kids in such a way that they know that I'm here to do this. So one of the ways that we did this was, I remember my first year teaching, I had a young woman, Demania, and Demania spoke no English. But her friend Nicole did. And so Nicole would, she sat next to Demania, and her job was to sort of like translate for me or let me know if Demania needed help on something. And so that worked a little bit. Then we started creating, I had all these other kids that would come in after school that were like failing and were really upset about it. So we set up a time after school where I would help anyone. But I needed to create a space that was going to get kids excited about showing up. So we're reading something like seemingly dry, like the Odyssey. This is before I taught reading like the way that I do it now. So it's like just reading in class. So it was, sorry, there's a bug on my lens. It was creating this space after school where I would let the kids, they could put on whatever music. So all of a sudden my room is bumping with like reggaeton, and every teacher's like, what's Reynolds doing in there? Kids would bring in food. I would ask them about like, yo, what's like one thing that your mom makes that's like something cultural for you all that's like just great. So then kids started bringing me in food. They start bringing in food for one another. They go to the corner store after school, get some food, come back, or I'd bring snacks in. So now we're listening to music, we're eating food together, we're connecting with one another. And the language barrier is still there, but they see you're trying. And then it was helping one another. We're working as a community to understand what we need to be doing, understand how to do it, and then having a better output on it. And then I would just curve those grades, because you're not going to be able to do something as well as someone that's a native English speaker reading English text. I would do things like, if I knew someone loved anime, I'd give them the graphic novel of the Odyssey, and they had to read that. So now you had a picture that went with the words, and I'd make sure I'd get at a reading level that was a little bit more doable for you. And so it's to me, it's about this. Are we going to be able to get over the language barrier this year? Maybe not. But can we plant seeds of hope that if you're working, if you're putting in the work and doing stuff, that, you know, two things. One, you can do it. And two, I'm here with you and I got you for the rest of these 4 years and beyond. And that, you know, here's how I know that worked. Years and years and years later, I'm teaching in West Philadelphia and we're dressing up for Halloween. And my job is, I'm Rick. We're going to dress up as the cast from The Walking Dead. I'm in a local thrift store and I hear Mr. Reynolds, and I turn around and Demania is standing behind me with her baby in the thrift store buying something for Halloween as well. And she said, I got to tell you how much it meant to me when we were younger. Like, I still remember like going to your room after school and having these little parties, and how you would listen to our music all the time, even though I didn't know one friggin' word. They could have been cursing their brains out. I had no idea. And she's like, that really just meant so much to me. And I talked to her and her life sounded really wonderful now. So what we're doing sometimes is we need to remember as educators that we don't have to, everything doesn't have to be fixed now, right? It is an ever evolving thing. And what we're trying to do is plant seeds of hope in children sometimes, so that as they continue to grow and do and be, that they can keep doing that. We're giving them the motivation and the hope to be able to do that. So fantastic. I mean, I love that you're doing this work, and thank you so much for your 28 years of service in the military. And thanks for the work that you're doing now. I'm sure that's incredible.
Maisha is up next asking, she's asking a pretty good one. What's the difference between rigging the system so you can win and being selfish in education? That's a good one. That's a tough one.
It's not tough. Girl, I got this.
It's not tough. You got the answer?
Maisha, I think the gig here is, what are your motives, right? When I talk about, so folks that don't know, I rig the game to win, right? Meaning I make things so easy for me that my chances of doing them are so much more doable, right? So I go to the gym 3 days a week. So for me, it used to be, this is all I had to do. will show up at the gym. I deal with myself. And when I make a deal with myself, I take it very seriously. My deal with myself was go to the gym and sign in. If I wanted to walk right the hell back out the gym and get back in my car and go home, I could do it, right? The deal with myself is to get to the gym because that's the hardest part so many times, right? It's like put on your gear and get into the gym. I got to get dressed.
By the time you sign in, it's like, all right, I guess I'll just go do something.
If you're already there, you're looking at everyone else. And I see like, you know, I don't know if you know this, but when we go to the gym, bro and I in the morning, there are a lot of senior citizens there.
Oh, I used to go at that time. That's my favorite.
And they do this exercise. It's adorable where it's like literally like bicycle pedals and you just go like this. And bro's like, is that even doing anything? I'm like, listen, it doesn't matter because they're doing something, right? So let that just, I don't even know. I'm not an exercise scientist. So I just go in there. I see someone doing this. I'm like, bro, if this woman who looks like she is like on the cast of the Golden Girls can show up every day and do this, and she's got the whole outfit on and everything, right? And then I can do it. Now, my deal with my son now is you can go to the gym. You have to go to the gym 3 days a week. You have to do 4 exercises 2 times each. That's it. If we want to do more, if you want to add another set on, if you want to do another exercise, if you want to stay a little bit longer, we can do it. And then I have this deal with him that if you do it, then you can do the massage chair thing at the end because he loves the friggin' massage chair. So that's rigging the game to win. Rigging the game to win is saying that I need to start flossing my teeth. So I have to literally floss between 2 teeth. That's it. Just 2 teeth. But by the time you get the floss out and you start doing it, it's like, can I do 2 more? So here that's rigging the game. What I mean by all of this is that if your motives, if you know that what you're doing is tricking yourself to get started so you can do more and better work, right? Then I think that's okay, right? Even if you're if it's bottom level right now, right? Bottom level is better than no level. Showing up is better than not showing up. Putting in 5 minutes of doing, if you can do 1 push-up a day, right? The likelihood that you're going to do 2 is far greater because you already got down there. And if you're old like me, it's like, bro, I'm already down here. I might as well freaking try and do another one at least. That's what rigging the game is to me. Now, there are folks that might do that and use it to get out of doing work or make themselves feel like it's all about your motivation and your self-talk. But I know that works for me, tricking myself to show up so that I can do the thing. And then once I do it, I mean,
it's interesting though that Maisha, you even said like, what's the difference between that and then being selfish in education? I once had a conversation with an educator and we were talking about this idea of like really putting in boundaries and saying no when you get asked to do all the million things, like we say, that teachers get asked. And they asked me like, is that being selfish? Like putting those boundaries up. And I was like, I thought to myself, no, but it's really interesting that people think putting boundaries in place is you being selfish. Like it's like a cultural thing that like just screws with our head. The idea that if we have to put a boundary in for ourselves, that is just being selfish. And it's like, I really want to change that narrative and say, no, boundaries are just good because you know what's good for you.
Let me ask you though, if you're struggling with that though, what would you suggest someone do if they're struggling with knowing whether or not it is, because it could be selfish,
right? I think it's there's a fine line between knowing like what is a boundary to.
So what do you do when you're struggling with that?
Oh, I don't know. I think you just have to discern with each situation whether if it's like.
I have extra phone calls I need to make today with teachers because I wasn't sure because they're going through something.
Yeah.
What would I do? What do I do all the time when I'm not sure? Should I do this? Should I not do this?
I don't know. You asked me?
Myself? Yes.
Oh, right? That's what you're fishing for.
I think it's having a trusted source to be able to ask and someone to talk to.
Oh, agreed.
That's going to let you know, like, yo, am I being selfish and doing this? And you got to ask the right person, right? Like,
well, someone that's going to tell you the truth, right?
Yeah. You got to ask someone that's not selfish. Ask someone that's selfish. They're going to go, no, don't do that. Right? It's like, ask someone that's not selfish that is in the right mind. And then it'll go better.
Yeah, I think it was just interesting, like the difference between like not understanding like even how to rig something to win it for yourself, and that's like looked at sometimes as being selfish also.
Can we do one more?
Yeah, because John Fox, do you have a specific one that you were looking at or something? I got John Fox is up next and he's got a good one.
No, hit it.
He is asking, what do you think English teachers do too much of? And what do you think we don't do enough of? If you were Secretary of Education, what major shifts in instruction would you advocate for? Woo, that's a big one. These are so hard to think. There's so much like, it's hard on a dime is what I mean.
I would say this as an English teacher for 17 years. It is about, I think, focusing on getting kids to want to read and not have to read is huge. So several years ago, our leadership at our school, this wasn't even a me thing, instituted independent reading, but they were like, we'll buy any book for any kid that wants to read. Like we'd rather not fund things just going to the library and have a kid go on Amazon and for $8 to $15 go, I want to read this cookbook. I want to read this biography. I want to read this book about gangster movies. That's what I'm interested in. Then I can order that. And then I have a big deal and I hold up the book and it's like, it's brand new and I give it to you. Now the book belongs in my school library more times than I would. I mean, I often gave books to kids, but like that was a huge thing. I think student voice is utterly important too. And I don't know that we're doing that very well. So like, that's why we do journals every day, is because I want my kids to learn how to share their voice, share what they're thinking and feeling. You know, kids are told speak when spoken to, and then they're never spoken to. And then when we do ask them an opinion, they're not used to exercising that part of their brain or that part of their heart. And so they can't do it. And then I think, John, fundamentals, you know, I'm going to tell you what, and this would piss kids off if they knew that they were going to do it. But learning how to diagram sentences transformed the way that I wrote. I literally did not learn. And I remember doing diagramming sentences in like 5th and 6th grade. I took a college course on it. It changed everything. And that's part of student voice too, right? Is learning how to communicate clearly so that you understand the logic behind the makeup of a sentence is going to transform the way you speak, the way that you write, and the way that you communicate with others. And so I think that that's utterly important too. It's some of those basic things that we've gotten away from in the name of rigor or policies or systems or whatever else. That's huge. And if I was to say one other thing, it is coming to terms with that. Look, there's a common misconception right now that, oh, everyone today, these kids all think they have ADHD, right? It's like, or did they just always have ADHD? Like, I don't think people 50 years ago, there was any less ADHD, maybe, right? It's worth having a conversation about anyway. I'm not like a scientist. I don't know for sure. But like, I think it's looking at things now and saying, or did we just not have the data before? And then how are we teaching all the different types of students, right? It is creating schools that are wildly more inclusive than they are now, and saying, I know it's a lot of money to remediate someone in the 9th grade that's dyslexic, that never learned how to read because of their learning difference. How do we actually take action on something like that to help kids be who they could be, instead of going, you're in a gray area, my man. You're not autistic enough, dyslexic enough. You don't process slow enough that you're not going to get all the services. I think there are all these kids in this kind of gray area that fall between fall in the cracks because they don't score enough. But if we really look at those kids and go, this certain individual needs this amount of remediation, this amount of counseling or therapy or whatever else, there's just a few of the things.
Man, I would just go back to reading. Someone made a great comment on our YouTube, and it was about how reading instruction is. I think they were high school, and they said they had a kid come in and test literally on a 1st grade reading level.
I had kindergarten reading level last year.
And it hurts I just like, gosh.
They were like, yeah,
I know Trish is in here somewhere. I know. I don't even want to hear it because it just makes me mad because it's so stupid. I know.
You just got to scaffold your class, bro. I'm sorry, what?
Trish is in here somewhere in the comments. She would commiserate with me. That is where my heart is. I just think of something in education is like, we've got to change reading, man.
Yeah. So listen, here's what we're doing. before we go, next Saturday, I'm going to put the link in the comments right now. We want you to be the greatest teacher you could possibly be. And so we're doing this stuff full time. We're trying to create things that will help you to teach in a real way. So we created this course. It was asked for, so we created it. Student engagement, how to get your kids to start on time in class, how to get kids to show up on time, how to get kids to transition from one activity to another, how to get kids to stop talking, stop touching one another, stop talking over you when you're trying to get them to do, how to get more kids, maybe not all of your kids, but more, have that percentage of work handed in, quality work handed in, to go up higher. This is what we're focusing on. It's going to happen next Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you can't make that live stream when we do it, it will happen. You can just watch it whenever you want. You'll have it for like, I don't know, it's 30 days or something like that. And we're going to do a follow-up too. This is my new thing. And I'm going to do this for the people that signed up for the lesson planning too. Also, you're going to get an email this week. We're going to do a follow-up 2 weeks afterwards to see where you are. You tried something, maybe it didn't go well, maybe it did go well. You want to share your story, but we want to create this support because we're all in this together. Teaching is a communal activity. Some of us are lucky enough, blessed enough to have that community in our schools, and some of us aren't. But we are trying to create that community here where it's a safe space to show up as you are on your way to becoming who you are called to be. So that's going to be happening next Saturday. Look, gang, I so deeply appreciate all of you showing up on here. If there's anything else that you need, you can go right to realrapwithreynolds.com, and we'd be happy to help you with anything that you need. And that's actually not the right banner. That's not right there. So that's it, everybody. I hope you have a really wonderful week. Anything else, wife?
Keep doing your best.
That's it. That's all you can tell them.
Yep.
Cool. Peace. Oh, I screwed it up and didn't hit the thing. Let's do it again. Ready?
Okay.
Peace.